Good evening, guys. This side Rahul Magan here as a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting, and also a venture capitalist. Now, standing today on 4th October 2020, we are going to be shooting a pretty important video about a concept which is known as mark to market. We already shot a video about this topic long ago wherein we said that one of the biggest frauds in the world which is happening is the mark-to-market accounting. And I still stick to my words because the unfortunate fact is that the understanding of the mark-to-market accounting is relatively extremely limited to regulators. In fact, majority of the so-called regulators of the world even do not know how mark-to-market accounting is done in the books of a company. A pretty recent fraud in the oil sector which had happened in Singapore opened the eyes of the whole Singapore about the great deeds of Monetary Authority of Singapore. And I never shy in saying that the so-called Monetary Authority of Singapore is now more or less an obsolete body. Rather, MAS is a body who really do not know what they are up to be honest. And this is more or less same with all regulators of the globe. Just like recently in Germany, the world faced another scandal, which is Wirecard. I hope you know about Wirecard. And Wirecard is now termed as Enron of Germany. And we did a great research on Wirecard, and unfortunately, we get to know that the regulator was all clueless about what is going on. So basically, every big company of the globe, whether this company is into IT sector, FMCG sector, I would say your technology sector, Apple, Microsoft, any big companies of the globe is subject to three types of accounting. Cash flow hedge accounting, fair value hedge accounting, and another is net investment hedge accounting. Well, one important thing which we need to understand very clearly and upfront is that not all the companies are subject to all three, rather few are subject to all three. That is also very important. Example, one of them is definitely if I say in terms of prominence, then I think this is more prominent than fair value and net investment. 95% companies of the globe, those who are into the business of any export and import is subject to cash flow. 5% is between 4 to 5% is fair value, and less than 1% is net investment hedging. And that is the most important reason why even if you open YouTube and check about the net investment hedging, you will get to know that not enough is being said about the net investment hedging. Even you open Google and look at, you will get to know not enough is said in that regards. And let it be honest, I think that is really unfortunate, to be honest. Now, if I clearly speak from the mark-to-market angle and all these, rather I learned a new way of doing it, which is this. First of all, there is a myth which is that I need to clear that myth, which is that cash flow hedging plus fair value hedging, there are many intelligent big four managers, those who call this as balance sheet hedging, and they all deserve Nobel Prize. That is, I think all those who call fair value hedging as balance sheet hedging, they really deserve Nobel Prize. I would like to request the Nobel Prize committee that this time when they think about giving Nobel Prize to different person nominated in the economics, I think they should include the big fours also. Plus the net investment hedging. All three can be done using plain vanilla, using structured derivatives, and it can be created using exotics. But we should thank you to the current limited text which are provided by the big fours in the public domain, that they never explain more than plain vanilla. And this is one of the most important reason that the mindset of the people, that the plain vanilla, that cash flow, fair value and net investment hedging is not more than the plain vanilla is there, because there is no text. But don't worry, Treasury Consulting is here. Need not to worry. Now we need to understand very important thing before I explain cash flow, fair value and net investment, which is that cash flow hedging is all about your receivables and payables, while fair value hedging is all about assets and liabilities which are in non-currency. These all things I have already explained on the YouTube channel very deeply in a detailed video. You can look at that. While the net investment hedging is all about when one group company takes position on behalf of another group company, because that group company is not in a position to take, because that group company is either getting the highest cost, or due to the very I would say because of the very I think the novice kind of structure, they are not getting that kind of benefit. So this is net investment hedging. All the derivative instruments, whether this is plain vanilla, exotic and structures, they are divided into two forms, which is L1, which is also known as mark to market, shortly known as MTM. L2, which is also known as mark to matrix, which is also known as MTM. And L3, which is known as mark to model, it is also known as MTM. So next time when any big four will come to you and they will say that we need to compute MTM, it is utmost duty of that company to ask what MTM. Are we talking L1, L2 and L3? That is more important thing. There are dedicated hedge accounting standards which we have, like we have a hedge accounting promulgated by IFRS and one is by US GAAP. IFRS 9, 7, 13, and one is by US GAAP, which is about 133, FS 133 and 157, although there are many. We need to understand that IFRS is more or less supporting the quantitative techniques, while US GAAP is supporting the qualitative techniques. But irrespective of the difference of opinion between these two bodies, one good fact is that quantitative technique is always more accurate and reliable in nature than qualitative techniques. Now, I will tell you something which is not there in the books of accounts. Majority of the instruments currently audited by the big fours, they are categorized as L2. I wanted to ask one question: how can a plain vanilla forward contract can described as L2? Okay, before I move further, let me tell you the basic fact. I would clear this canvas and I would tell you this. L1, L2, L3. One is known as observable variable and one is known as non-observable variable. Observable variables are those variables which are quoted in the market and are readily available on financial terminals like Bloomberg and Reuters. Whether it is OIS, overnight index swap, forward contract or whatever, they are very readily available on Reuters and Bloomberg. Nothing to worry about. Non-observable variables are those variables where we need to work out. It's a kind of extrapolation. So example, suppose you're doing a survey of your product. Example, Zomato is doing a survey that if they launch this different kind of food, then whether people like it or not. Suppose they do a survey in India, and the company who doing that survey taking a sample size of 50,000 people, and out of 50,000 people, say 40,000 people, which is 80% of the population, is saying yes, we really like this food, provided Zomato launch in this pricing range, assuming. Then Zomato is very bullish because they feel that is out of 50,000 people, 40,000 people are up to this product, provided we are able to launch in the price range given by the people, then they would surely launch, because they get a bullish attitude, because they feel that if we launch on the pan-India basis, then we get a relatively very good business. So non-observable variables are those basically where we extrapolate. That is really very important. And of course, I need to appreciate that extrapolation is always subject to interpretation issue. There are multiple interpretations issues which we have in extrapolation. That is definitely there. So L1 is when 100% of the variables are observable in nature, while 0% are non-observable. While here 99% are observable, and I would write at least 1% is non-observable. I put a star here. Please remember that it is subject to interpretation issue. Here the observable variable is 1% and 99% are non-observable, and star means interpretation issue. Of course, one important thing which we need to understand very clearly and upfrontly is that L1, which is also known as mark to market, well, all three are, which is mark to market, mark to matrix and mark to model. We need to appreciate one thing very clearly, that the plain vanilla forward and the plain vanilla option contracts, they are definitely not L2. One of the biggest thing which is happening in the world of mark-to-market accounting is this, which I would like to make it very clear, is that majority of the Indian companies, like I was the group treasurer, majority of the Indian companies are taking plain vanilla contracts, plain vanilla forward. And then companies are taking put contracts. Some companies are taking range forward. There are hardly companies like Reliance, those who take exotic contracts, and that is the reason why Reliance is a profitable, amongst one of the reasons why Reliance is a profitable company, because they treat their treasury as a hedge fund, which is definitely a very, very good approach. Very, very good approach. And I'm always in the favor of this policy of Reliance and would continue to. Except, I would like to change the pen color to red. Except this, where I am marking red, right? All three, which is this, this and this, ideally valued as L1. But guys, if you download the annual report, which by the way in India, in Indian context we speak as annual report, while in the context of US we speak this as 10K. If you read the 10K of any company, example, any company of the globe, you will get L2. And that is the biggest problem. Why a plain vanilla contract is considered as L2 when all kind of information is readily available in public domain, which is Bloomberg and Reuters. This is one of the shit which is created by the auditing firm, is that it is considered as L2. And guys, by the way, I really do not know till what extent you read the international banks, G7 banks. Then except one G7 banks, no bank is giving this disclosure. At the end of an accounting year, there is a provision in the hedge accounting whereby L1 moves to L2, L1 can move to L2, L2 can move to L3. This is scenario 1. Scenario 2 is L2 can go to L1 and L3 can go to L2. This is scenario 2. Scenario 3 is L1 can go to L3 and L3 can go to L2. And there are multiple scenarios in that regard. This is known as MTM transition matrix. And by the way, either it is IFRS or US GAAP, both permit this. Of course, both have their different pros and cons while permitting this. There is no disagreement in that regards. You may have interpretation issue with pros and cons, but they permit that. And guys, if you ever noticed any Indian bank, then I challenge you that these things are completely missed. Number 1, Number 1 is proper hedge accounting disclosures. Number 2, hedge accounting valuation matrices. Number 3, hedge accounting methods with assumptions. And number 4, which is very, very important, transition matrices. These 4 things are absent in any Indian bank. You check any Indian bank and I challenge the so-called big fours and so-called partners, those who are signing the balance sheets. And guys, do you know one of the reason? The reason is that 99% of the people, those who are watching this video, they even not heard about these 4. And the biggest issue is the knowledge. Because whenever we look at the balance sheet of any company, we only look at PAT, profit after tax. We look at the gross NPA, the net NPA, and max to max the provisioning part. That's it. While these all standards are completely obsolete in nature, because we need to appreciate that they are 1920 standards and the world is far ahead. World is talking about ECL, CECL, and there are a hell lot of new things that are coming in the banking domain. But the way we make balance sheet is completely obsolete. And of course, majority of the regulators of the globe are really not aware about what is going on. So we need to understand that the mark-to-market accounting which is happening is completely incorrect. The disclosures are not done appropriately, and more importantly, even if it is done, then it is completely shallow in nature. I know the way we interpret SoftBank in 2018, the way we interpret Yes Bank in 2018, the way we interpret Vodafone in 2020, and there are many other things. At onset, everyone thought that this guy is an idiot, but later on people understood that yes, what he was talking was the fact and they happened. Sooner or later, the world will coincide on one point, and that is that there is an urgent requirement to make changes in the MTM accounting. And Treasury Consulting would continue to raise voice in the hedge accounting. We are not bothered about the so-called big fours, what they are doing, because Wirecard, if you look at the Wirecard scandal and any other scandal, you would really get to know that how exactly is the accounting which is going on. Well, we can even speak a lot about mark-to-market accounting, but I think this is sufficient enough to make you aware. And thank you very much for your time. This is Rahul from Treasury Consulting. You know our WhatsApp 9818485155. In case you need any information about our paid programs, paid hedge group, our hedge fund desk, our free Android app, or anything, just let us know. We are always here to help you. Thank you guys and have a great time. Thank you.